one. That was Scarface, Happy, and there are a great many people who are. I would say that for every person who was appalled by the images they saw with the Border Patrol and the Haitian immigrants who thought that it was unnecessary, who thought that it was inhumane, there were a lot of people who were gleeful about it. There were a lot of people who thought it was necessary. There are a lot of people who rejoiced in it. Oftentimes when immigrants come here seeking refuge, seeking help, they are met with people with guns and slogans and anger, because that is quintessentially American. When people say this is not American, nothing is more American than so-called Americans being angry with immigrants. And the only reason anybody is here is because so-called Americans needed other people to do the work. If America was getting along just fine, black people wouldn't be here. Neither would Asians, neither would Italians, neither would Jewish, neither would German. They all needed somebody else to come here and do the work that so-called Americans wouldn't do. As a matter of fact, when you look at the history of us, all the things that were built here, America itself were built by slaves. The railroads, the bridges were built by other people coming here to be exploited by the so-called American people. Nothing is more American than America. As a matter of fact, look at all the riots that have started here and the race wars that have started here have been about so-called people not being real Americans who are taking something away from real Americans. Taking something, jobs or houses or someplace that they didn't belong. And so, as a matter of fact, you may have come here as an immigrant, but you get to it. Some people got to ascend to what's so-called real Americans. And I guarantee you this: a lot of the people that come here because the things America has done to exploit their economies, their governments, their leadership, made their countries unlivable. So they come here. Haiti is a country that is rife with natural disasters happen there quite often. No perceptible infrastructure, no real leadership. Assassination is always destabilized. And so what do you think would happen? The South Americans that come here because a lot of things that we have done have played a part in their country being unlivable. And then when they get here, they're derided. Nothing is more American. If it's so un-American to see a man on a horse chasing a black dude with a whip, then why does it look so familiar? Why were people talking about the optics of it? It didn't seem strange. It seemed nostalgic. A matter of fact, a white dude on a horse or a dude on a horse chasing a black dude with a whip is not sad to a lot of people. It is retro. It is quintessentially American to be violent to black and brown people. It always has, and it will always be that way until people decide to do something different. Because for every person that was appalled by what they saw or have been seeing, there are people who rejoice in it. As a matter of fact, they feel weaponized. And you can tell by their silence. The people who are not saying something about it are the very ones who think it's necessary. It's necessary to dehumanize people. It's necessary to brutalize them. It is necessary because we need to keep America for Americans. And only certain groups of people get to be real Americans. Nothing is more quintessentially American than being violent to black and brown people. Nothing. Nothing. And we pretend like it is a one-off, that it is an aberration. It is historic. It is systemic. It has been with us as long as this place has been a country where people who are real Americans attack those who they think don't belong here, have no right here. And those people are only here doing the jobs that real Americans won't do. If you look at it, poor black and brown people do our physical labor. Poor black and brown people do our intellectual labor. Those are the jobs Americans can't or won't do. So if you won't pick an apple and you can't make one, what is your purpose but to be angry at people who are coming here for a better life? And those people who are coming here, whether they be Afghans or South Americans or Haitians, they will come here, and they're the only people who actually still believe in the tenets of America. The people who don't want them here are the people who tried to attack democracy, didn't want it to exist. The people who are trying to destroy this country if they can't have it. The people who don't want anybody else to be here, so it become a cesspool just for them because they don't want to go up and they don't want to go around. They just want to stay where they are and be angry. Nothing is more quintessentially American than assaulting someone black and brown. And I will tell you this, it appalled me just as much when I saw Latins in cages as when I saw what they were doing to Asians, as when I saw what they were doing to Haitians right now. And if you're not equally as appalled by something that happens to somebody that doesn't look like you, then you're hypocritical. Because we are all in this together. All of us. Everybody struggles under the wheel of white supremacy, of people who want to keep this country just for themselves, and everybody else who doesn't look like them or comport with them, they don't belong. They're the others. And this nation was built by others, and it's sustained by others. As a matter of fact, the only hope that this country have is forward, but it's being held by people who want to stay in place or go backwards. How can a nation evolve when you have a large segment of people who just want to be here, who just want to hate and take away? As many people who was appalled by what happened and what has been happening, as many people who are appalled by it, some people are hardened by it. At least they'll stop them. And then this will be our country. We can have it to ourselves. And it'll be ours. If America was so, if it is so un-American to watch those scenes that are playing out in front of us as we speak, to watch people brutalized by horses and whips, to watch them huddled together with no real resources, with nobody caring, people being angry at them, then why does it look so goddamn familiar? That's a little note from the GED section. We got a Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.